1:52 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz. Depth, 34 meters. The water here is warm even at this hour. 31 degrees Celsius at the surface, 28 at the bottom. Flat. Unremarkable. 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point. A corridor so tight that the 2 inbound and 2 outbound shipping lanes together span less than 4 kilometers. Every supertanker, every LNG carrier, every container vessel transiting between the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea passes through this corridor. 21% of the world's seaborne oil moves through this passage every day. The IRGC had studied it for 30 years. They believed they finally understood how to close it. A Ghadir-class midget submarine moves at 4 knots without running lights, 18 meters below the surface. Its diesel-electric propulsion produces a thermal signature distinct from background noise, but only at close range, and only if someone is looking. At 1:52 a.m., the crew deploys the first Manta bottom mine from the stern release cradle. The mine descends through the warm water and settles into the silt of the shipping lane floor. Passive, pressure activated, designed to respond to the acoustic signature of a large vessel passing overhead. 6 other Ghadir submarines are operating in the same sector. 3 more are working the second shipping corridor, 2 kilometers to the east. On the surface, 5 IRGC fast attack craft, running without lights, their crews dressed in civilian fishing gear, are dropping rock and shallow water moored mines in the near coastal approaches. The operation is timed to 94 minutes total. 11 submarines, 5 surface craft, 3 navigational corridors, 340 mines. The IRGC called it Operational SEAL. 11 months of planning. The math was straightforward. Close Hormuz for 72 hours and the diplomatic pressure from China, India, Japan, every nation whose economy depended on Gulf oil, would force a negotiated pause. 72 hours was the threshold. Below that, the closure was a disruption. Above it, it was a strategic event that reshaped the conversation. What the IRGC did not factor into the math. The NRO Topaz constellation had been repositioned 4 weeks earlier, adding a dedicated pass over the Hormuz approaches every 93 minutes. At 1:52:14 a.m., 14 seconds after the first Ghadir began its deployment run, the satellite registered thermal anomalies consistent with Ghadir-class propulsion signatures at 7 separate positions in the first shipping corridor. The algorithm classified the event in 3.1 seconds. Not definitively. Thermal signatures at depth are ambiguous. But ambiguous was enough. The P-8A Poseidon, on a standard maritime patrol track 180 kilometers to the southeast, received the cue at 1:52:31 a.m. The crew was already awake. They had been awake for 9 hours. The P-8A's magnetic anomaly detection system began passive sweeps at 1:54 a.m. By 1:57 a.m., 7 Ghadir positions in the first corridor were localized to within 200 meters. The CAOC at Al Udeid received the report at 1:58 a.m. The mine threat assessment was classified urgent. At 1:59 a.m., 67 seconds after the mine-laying operation began, CENTCOM had a confirmed Hormuz mining event in progress, and at exactly that moment, 340 kilometers to the north, in hardened launch facilities buried in the Zagros mountain foothills east of Shiraz, the IRGC Aerospace Force initiated the second phase of the operation. 174 Shahed 136 and Shahed 149 loitering munitions began launching in sequence. Not in a single wave, but in 7 separate waves timed at 4 to 7 minute intervals. The interval architecture was deliberate. Each wave would arrive at the defensive perimeter, as the previous wave's engagement was still consuming interceptor inventory. The mathematical model showed that at 7 waves, the SeaRAM aboard USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, operating at 63% of standard loadout due to a resupply scheduling gap, would be exhausted by Wave 5. Waves 6 and 7 would face only CIWS. Simultaneously, 31 Fateh 313 and Zulfikar ballistic missiles launched toward Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. 6 Noor anti-ship missiles activated from coastal batteries near Bandar Abbas, targeted at the carrier screening destroyers. From the SeaRAM satellite, the launch signatures were unambiguous. 174 slow-moving thermal ignitions spreading across the Zagros foothills, plus 31 ballistic signatures rising on steep trajectories toward Qatar. The processing algorithm classified the event in 2.6 seconds. The carrier, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, received the roaming lance alert at 2:01:07 a.m., 67 seconds after the first Shahed ignited. The signals intelligence operator aboard the RC-135W had been monitoring IRGC communications for 11 hours straight. When the Zagros signatures appeared simultaneously with the Hormuz mining report already on her display, she recognized the architecture immediately. Not two separate events, but one coordinated operation designed to split the U.S. response between two simultaneous crises. She flagged it as dual-axis coordinated at 2:01:22 a.m., 15 seconds after the SBIR's alert. That classification changed the CAOC's response sequencing. Instead of treating the mining and the air threat as separate problems requiring separate chains of command, CENTCOM activated a single unified response framework. One operation, two axes, one commander. The unified framework had a name: Operation Iron Tide. It had been developed 18 months earlier for exactly this contingency: simultaneous Hormuz mining and a carrier-directed air threat. The IRGC had wargamed a split U.S. response. Iron Tide was designed to ensure there was no split. 2 MH-60S helicopters launched from USS Dwight D. Eisenhower at 2:08 a.m., each towing an AN/AQS-20 sonar search system. 2 MH-53E Sea Dragon mine countermeasures helicopters launched 4 minutes behind them. The AN/AQS-20 operates at 8 knots, its towed body mapping the bottom contours of the shipping lane with side-scan sonar. Each Manta mine produces a distinct acoustic return, harder than sand, geometrically regular. The first corridor survey began at 2:17 a.m. While the mine countermeasures operation started, the air defense battle was already in its third minute. USS Dwight D. Eisenhower's defensive architecture was organized in 4 concentric layers. The outer layer, 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers with SM-2 Block 3C and SM-6, positioned to engage the Shahed waves at 70 to 90 kilometers. The intermediate layer, the cruiser USS Lady Gulf with ESSM Block 2, handling threats that penetrated the outer ring. The inner layer, the carrier's own SeaRAM batteries. The final layer, 3 Phalanx CIWS systems at point-blank range. The first Shahed wave, 26 drones, entered SM-2 engagement range at 2:19 a.m. 22 were intercepted by the 2 outer destroyers. 4 passed into ESSM range. All 4 were neutralized at 18 to 23 kilometers. The second wave, 29 Shahed, entered at 2:24 a.m. The EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, which had launched from the carrier at 2:11 a.m., were now on jamming orbits over the Omani coast. Their MALD-J packages, miniature air-launched decoy jammers, generated 47 false thermal signatures in the airspace ahead of the incoming swarm. The Shahed 149's imaging infrared seeker began partitioning attention between real and false targets. Guidance coherence degraded from 91% to 38%. Of 29 second-wave drones, 26 were intercepted. 3 reached SeaRAM range. 2 neutralized. 1 reached Phalanx CIWS at 740 meters. The burst from the 20mm rotary cannon registered on the flight deck as a sound like an industrial grinder held against sheet metal. 3 seconds of continuous fire. Fragments impacted the water 160 meters off the carrier's port beam. The third wave, 24 Shahed. Growler jamming now fully optimized for the Shahed 149's frequency profile. 21 intercepted at outer and intermediate layers. 3 to SeaRAM. All 3 neutralized. The Fateh 313 and Zulfiqar ballistic missiles targeting Al Udeid were a separate track. The PC-3 battery at Al Udeid had expended 67% of its ready interceptors against the first 19 ballistic rounds when the Shahed battery, which had been completing a scheduled radar alignment at a new position 14 kilometers south of its previous location, came fully online at 2:31 a.m., 11 minutes later than planned. The alignment delay was a scheduling artifact. It was not a secret. The IRGC operational plan had incorporated it as a known vulnerability. During those 11 minutes, the PAC-3 battery operated without THAAD backup on the high-altitude intercept corridor. Wave 4 of the Fateh 313 salvo, 8 rounds, arrived during that window. PAC-3 engaged 6. The 7th was intercepted, but not fully neutralized. The interceptor fragmented the re-entry vehicle without achieving structural collapse. The warhead tumbled. It lost ballistic coherence and impacted a gravel berm on the airfield's southern perimeter, 340 meters from the nearest aircraft. No personnel in the immediate area. The berm absorbed the primary energy. Secondary fragmentation peppered a section of perimeter fence and a vehicle access road. No aircraft damaged. No injuries. The 8th round was intercepted by THAAD at 2:32 a.m., 47 seconds after the battery came online. This was the IRGC's best moment. A ballistic warhead on Al Udeid's perimeter. SeaRAM inventory on the carrier depleting wave by wave. The Hormuz corridor still being mined. The countermeasures operation just getting started. At 2:32 a.m., an observer watching only the IRGC side of the engagement would have seen an operation producing real results on 2 simultaneous fronts. What that observer would not have seen. Operation Iron Tide's offensive component had been authorized at 2:09 a.m., 10 minutes after the first SPIR's alert, and the first weapons were already in the air. 4 B-1B Lancers, alerted at 2:05 a.m., taxied and launched from Al Udeid between 2:14 a.m. and 2:23 a.m. Each carried 24 JASSM-ER, 96 precision munitions heading west over the Gulf of Oman at Mach 0.85. Target packages preloaded. The B-1B is not a stealth platform. It does not need to be. JASSM-ER releases from 900 kilometers outside every Iranian air defense system currently operational. 147 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles launched from USS Lady Gulf and 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers beginning at 2:14 a.m. 61 F/A-18F and F-35C sorties cycled off the carrier's flight deck starting at 2:12 a.m. 1 aircraft every 53 seconds. At minute 13, 312 aim points had been allocated across 171 separate IRGC installations, missile bases, air defense batteries, coastal radar facilities, naval support infrastructure at Bandar Abbas and JASSM. Each aim point matched a weapon type, target hardness, and collateral geometry. The targeting cycle completed in 13 minutes. By 2:26 a.m., the United States had authorized $1.8 billion in precision munitions. The JASSM-ER packages from 4 B-1B Lancers, 96 rounds at $1.36 million, represented $130.6 million in ordnance accelerating toward Iran simultaneously. 147 Tomahawks at $2.09 million each, $307.2 million. The F/A, 18F and F-35C strike packages, with JDAM and JSOW were still being computed. The invoice was not finished. 6 EA-18G Growlers maintained continuous jamming over the Omani coast. At 2:29 a.m., HARM AGM-88E missiles began impacting IRGC radar facilities along the coast, 6 installations in Bushehr province, 4 in Hormuz. Each radar that went offline reduced the IRGC's ability to track and target the carrier. By 2:37 a.m., the coastal surveillance network had lost 11 of its 17 primary nodes. U.S. Cybercom had pre-positioned code in 3 IRGC command network nodes. At 2:22 a.m., the intrusion reached Layer 4 of the primary launch authorization network. At Layer 5, a physical air gap stopped the penetration. The kinetic alternative was assigned at 2:23 a.m. A JASSM-ER, already airborne, received a mid-flight retargeting update. Endpoint shifted 31 kilometers to the mountain relay node connecting the Zagros launch sites to IRGC Aerospace Force headquarters. Weapon acknowledged. Arrival, 22 minutes. During those 22 minutes, the relay continued passing launch authorizations to Shahed wave commanders, who did not yet know the first 4 waves had failed to reach the carrier. The 5th Shahed wave, 22 drones, entered engagement range at 2:39 a.m. Growler jamming degraded guidance coherence to 29%. 19 intercepted. 3 reached SeaRAM. SeaRAM inventory, 34% remaining. All 3 neutralized. The 6th wave, 19 Shahed, arrived at 2:45 a.m. 17 intercepted. 2 reached SeaRAM. 1 neutralized by SeaRAM. The 2nd reached phalanx range at 510 meters, inside the minimum safe intercept distance for SeaRAM. CIWS engaged for 2.7 seconds. The Shahed was structurally compromised but not stopped. Fragments from the disintegrating airframe, the largest measuring 60 centimeters by 40 centimeters, impacted the carrier's deck edge elevator housing. 3 sailors in the area were moved to the medical bay with concussion and laceration injuries from the fragment impact. The elevator housing sustained a 40-centimeter puncture. The elevator remained operational. This was the closest the IRGC came to achieving meaningful damage to the carrier. Not a Shahed hitting the flight deck. Not a fire. A fragment from a partially neutralized drone hitting a secondary structure. 3 injured sailors. An elevator housing with a puncture. The carrier continued into the wind. Aircraft were still launching. The 7th and final Shahed wave, 17 drones, arrived at 2:52 a.m. 15 intercepted. 2 to SeaRAM. SeaRAM inventory, 19%. Both neutralized. The 6 Noor coastal anti-ship missiles from the Bandar Abbas batteries had been acquired by USS Leyte Gulf's Aegis system at 2:21 a.m. as they skimmed the surface at 9 meters altitude. 4 were intercepted by SM-6. The 5th was engaged by ESSM at 14 kilometers. The 6th reached CIWS range on the lead destroyer, USS Gravely. CIWS engaged at 1,100 meters, continuous burst for 2.1 seconds. The Noor was structurally compromised and impacted the water 340 meters from USS Gravely's hull. No damage to the ship. No injuries. At 2:41 a.m., the first Tomahawks reached the Iranian coastline. The initial package targeted 29 IRGC fixed launch support nodes, the hardened bunkers, fuel depots, and command posts that the mobile Shahed launchers required for sustained operations. The mobile launchers themselves had dispersed into road networks and terrain. They were tracked by F-35C sorties flying at 44,000 feet, their EOTS sensors acquiring the thermal signatures of launcher vehicles, distinctive heat profiles of diesel generators and hydraulic systems on roads departing known staging areas. At 2:47 a.m., an F-35C acquired a 4-vehicle launcher convoy on Route 65 southeast of Isfahan. Clean thermal lock. 34 seconds before the lead vehicle reached a road tunnel. The pilot transmitted coordinates via data link without voice call. A Tomahawk already inbound to the area received the targeting update at 2:47:09 a.m. The convoy was 3.8 kilometers from the tunnel entrance. At road speed, 5 minutes and 20 seconds. The Tomahawk arrived in 4 minutes and 51 seconds. The convoy had covered 3.6 kilometers. It was 200 meters from the tunnel entrance. The Tomahawk found it. Of 47 mobile Shahed launcher vehicles assessed active at operation start, 39 were neutralized in the first engagement window. 8 were inside terrain masking, or already in tunnels. They survived the first wave. The IRGC Aerospace Force Command node at Desful, primary relay for Shahed wave launch authorizations, received the JASSM-ER at 2:45 a.m. The node went offline. Shahed Waves 6 and 7 launched on pre-programmed timers rather than active command authorization. They flew. They were intercepted. The IRGC command network could no longer confirm whether they had reached their targets. It could no longer confirm much of anything. The desperation gambit came at 2:54 a.m. The IRGC naval commander at Bandar Abbas, having lost contact with the coastal missile batteries and the Ghadir submarines in the first corridor, activated his reserve asset. 12 fast attack craft carrying extended-range torpedo systems staged at JASSM Naval Base. Not a precision operation. A mass charge. 12 craft at maximum speed toward the carrier's last known position, 190 kilometers to the southeast. The logic. Even one torpedo on the carrier would change the strategic equation. P-8, a Poseidon aircraft, had been tracking the JASSM facility since 2:03 a.m. The fast attack craft were acquired on surface radar as they cleared the harbor at 2:54 a.m. MH-60R helicopters launched from 2 destroyers at 2:56 a.m. with Mk-54 lightweight torpedoes. The fast attack craft had covered 23 kilometers when the first helicopter reached engagement range at 3:09 a.m. The engagement lasted 11 minutes. Of 12 craft, 9 were neutralized. 2 turned back toward JASSM under fire and were tracked to the harbor. 1 continued on course until it lost propulsion from fragmentation damage and drifted to a stop 140 kilometers from the carrier. It was boarded by a VBSS team at 4:17 a.m. and assessed as no longer capable of independent navigation. No fast attack craft reached torpedo range. At 3:01 a.m., the mountain relay node, the one that had continued transmitting for 22 minutes while the JASSM-ER was inbound, received its weapon. The IRGC Aerospace Force lost its last redundant command pathway between surviving headquarters elements and the remaining launcher vehicles. After 3:01 a.m., isolated, fragmented transmissions from individual IRGC units attempting to reach a network that no longer existed as a coherent architecture. 4 uncoordinated Shahed launches between 3:01 and 3:14 a.m. Individual crews acting without authorization, without updated targeting data. All 4 intercepted by the outer destroyer screen before reaching ESSM range. At 3:14 a.m., the last uncoordinated Shahed entered the water short of the carrier group. The IRGC had stopped being a coordinated force. The silence was not a ceasefire. It was the absence of a network capable of issuing one. The mine countermeasures operation ran in parallel throughout. By 2:47 a.m., the AN/AQS-20 had completed its first corridor survey. 112 Manta mines mapped and flagged. MH-53E Sea Dragon began systematic neutralization using the Mk-104 acoustic sweep system, generating acoustic signatures that trigger pressure-activated mines at safe standoff distance. The second corridor was surveyed by 3:19 a.m. 141 mines mapped. At 3:22 a.m., a Panama-flagged bulk carrier that had been holding position 14 nautical miles south of the Strait, waiting for the all-clear, received a navigational advisory from UAE Coast Guard. The first corridor was 60% cleared, safe passage under escort available for vessels with shallow enough draft. The carrier acknowledged. It was not yet the reopening of Hormuz. It was the beginning of it. The third corridor, the shallowest, with the most complex mine geometry, required a different approach. Rock and moored mines in 3 meters of water cannot be swept acoustically. Each required direct neutralization by EOD dive teams deployed from a mine countermeasures vessel. USS Pioneer reached the 3rd corridor at 3:44 a.m. By 4:09 a.m., the 1st and 2nd corridors were fully cleared. 2 mines in the 1st corridor had been set with anti-handling fuses and required controlled detonation rather than mechanical neutralization. Each detonation recorded as a low-frequency pulse on sonar. Of 340 mines laid, 338 neutralized or detonated. 2 were assessed as inert, faulty activation mechanisms, confirmed by ROV inspection. The 3rd corridor was cleared by 4:31 a.m. 1st corridor open to commercial traffic, 4:09 a.m. Full 3 corridor clearance, 4:31 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz had been operationally closed for 2 hours and 39 minutes. The IRGC had assessed that below 72 hours of closure, the operation was a failure. They were correct. 2 hours and 39 minutes was not a strategic event. It was a disruption. It would appear on insurance rate tables for 18 months. It would not reshape the conversation. In the CAOC at Al Udeid, the Iron Tide assessment officer closed the operational database at 4:47 a.m. 312 aim points. At 4:47 a.m., 268 green, 31 yellow, 13 red. The 13 red indicators were deep tunnel complexes in the Zagros range, positions that had been on the target list for 14 months, always assessed as requiring B2 and GBU-57 for first strike confidence. They had survived. They were tracked. They were no longer connected to a command network capable of directing them. She opened the 2nd wave file, the 13 positions and their access profiles. She had been building the analysis on those 13 positions for 8 months. Tonight she would finish it. From the SBIR's satellite's first thermal registration at 1:59 a.m. to the last uncoordinated IRGC munition entering the water at 3:14 a.m. 1 hour, 15 minutes. From the beginning of the mining operation at 1:52 a.m. to full Hormuz clearance at 4:31 a.m. 2 hours, 39 minutes. IRGC Shahed drones launched. 174. Intercepted at outer and intermediate layers, 161. Intercepted by SeaRAM, 9. Intercepted by CIWS, 3. Drone fragments reaching carrier structure. 1. Elevator housing puncture, non-mission critical. Total intercept rate, 99.4%. Fateh 313 and Zulfiqar ballistic missiles launched. 31. Intercepted. 30. 1 warhead fragment impact on Al Udeid perimeter berm. No aircraft damaged, no injuries. Nor coastal anti-ship missiles launched. 6. Intercepted. 6. Hormuz mines deployed. 340. Neutralized. 338. Assessed inert. 2. IRGC military installations neutralized in first engagement window. 268 of 312 aim points. Mobile launcher vehicles, 39 of 47 assessed no longer operational. Coastal radar network, 11 of 17 primary nodes offline. IRGC Aerospace Force Command Network, below coordinated operational threshold as of 3:01 a.m. U.S. assets, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, elevator housing puncture. 3 sailors with concussion and lacerations, all returned to limited duty within 72 hours. SeaRAM inventory, 19% remaining, resupply required. Al Udeid Air Base, perimeter berm impact, no aircraft damage, no injuries. USS Gravely, 0 structural damage, 0 aircraft lost. Cost of U.S. munitions expended in Operation Iron Tide, $1.94 billion. Estimated replacement value of IRGC military assets neutralized, $11.3 billion. Exchange ratio, 1 to 5.8. The IRGC had spent 23 years developing the Shahed program, the coastal missile network, the Ghadir submarine fleet, and the Hormuz mining doctrine. The operational concept had been rehearsed in 17 exercise cycles. Every rehearsal had produced a model showing that simultaneous mining and a carrier air threat would split the U.S. response into two slower, less effective operations. The model had one variable it never resolved correctly: whether the U.S. had planned for the split or planned to make the split irrelevant. Iron tide made the split irrelevant. One operation, two axes, one timeline. The Strait of Hormuz was open. The carrier was combat effective. The B-1Bs were returning to Al Udeid with empty weapons bays. The 13 red indicators on the database were the next problem. They had always been the next problem. Tonight, for the first time, they were the only problem remaining. The machine had not stopped. It had completed its first cycle and was preparing the second.